to Kansas, gateway to Oz. Under the rainbow, this is where it was. Hollyhocks and red ripe tomatoes, hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. It's the best part of Dorothy's dream.
Today Around Kansas starts with the dramatic tale of Army Scout Jack Stilwell in 1868. Then learn about Walter Johnson from Humboldt, Kansas, a pitcher who was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1936. Next, enjoy a poem from Ron Wilson, and we'll end with the story, part history and part legend, of Wakanda Lake at Glen Elder State Park. Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, Progress, powered by Kansas farmers. This segment is brought to you by Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, just a short drive down the Yellow Brick Road.
Good morning, welcome to Around Kansas. I'm Deb Goodrich.
And I'm Frank Chafin, I think. Yep. It must be Wednesday.
It must be. So far, so good, and it's pretty early.
And we're in the shadow of the Capitol, which you can probably see reflected in the windows of the beautiful Dillon House, which is our studio on a weekly basis.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yes,
we were
it
just
is.
talking the other day about Capitol Square, and I had some friends come up a couple of weeks ago who had not seen the newly restored and newly remodeled Capitol, and were just blown away. And we hope that all you Kansans will take some time to visit Topeka and see what your tax money has done. It's beautiful. I know there was a lot of controversy about whether or not to restore the Capitol building, but as Dick Bond, I believe, said, this is the people's house, and it deserves to be well cared for and beautiful, and it really is. I've been to a lot of state capitals all over the country, and ours, I've never seen anything better.
It's amazing. And of course the Dillon House too, them restoring it right across from the Capitol makes it a fantastic venue for parties, meetings, social events of all kinds. So,
which is why we're outside, because they're so busy with so much stuff going on that there's just not room for us in there.
And it's not raining yet.
And it's not raining. It's great.
So, what have you been up to?
I just been all around Kansas. You know, I spoke at the Sharon Springs Rotary Club the other day. A wonderful community, enjoyed those people so much and look forward to going back. Always stop in Oakley. Pay my tribute to Buffalo Bill Cody and see the gals there in the Buffalo Bill Cultural Center. And of course, Heather and I were in Oberlin and had great times in Oberlin. And so we get out and around Kansas as much as we can.
I'm still recovering from a 200-mile round trip to Cassaday for first Sunday, and this is, long after that, but you know, I'm old now.
Yeah, recovery's a lot more. I'm telling you, recovery for me too is a lot more than it used to be. When you get home from a long trip at midnight or something, and it seems like you've been gone for a week and it's only been 2 days. Yeah, the recovery time just takes longer.
Okay.
But as a result, we got some great stuff to share with you, so stay with us.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
I will take action against herbicide-resistant weeds. I will know my weeds, and I will stop them before they go to seed. I will do whatever it takes to give my crops the upper hand, and I will use multiple herbicide sites of action because every action counts. I will take action, this time for all time.
Here's another gardening tip with Annette Jackson from Jackson's Greenhouse.
If you missed the opportunity to apply crabgrass preventer to your lawn last month, there's still time. Apply Fertilum's new product, Professional Turf Weed Out Plus Crabgrass Preventer. This product kills new crabgrass. It also prevents new crabgrass and other weeds. Kills dandelions and fertilizes your lawn all in one application.
Visit Jackson's. We'll show you how to grow the best lawn in your neighborhood.
Jackson's Greenhouse has what you need today.
Hello friends, I'm Ernie Rodina.
And I'm Dawn Dawson with the Better Horses Radio Show.
For over 9 years, we've been bringing the Better Horses Radio Show to markets all across the Midwest. We talk about God, lots about horses.
We talk about cows, we talk about horse health, we talk to top trainers, and we even talk about Roy Rogers.
We're having a blast with Better Horses Radio Show and would love to take it to a market near you.
So visit our website at betterhorsesradio.com and let us or your local radio station know you'd like to hear it in your area.
The Better Horses Radio Show is unbelievable.
To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agaminkansas.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
We're back.
Welcome back, and you know, my first love, of course, is history, and especially the Old West. So I read a lot of magazines and a lot of books on the Old West, and one of my favorites is True West by my good friend Bob Bose Bell, who puts out a phenomenal magazine. He's an incredible artist and always just has interesting little tidbits. So one of the articles that was just in his magazine was on Jack Stilwell. Have you ever heard the name Jack Stilwell?
Yes.
Well, it's an incredible story with a great Kansas connection, and if you're familiar with the Battle of Beecher's Island, then you'll be somewhat familiar with his incredible story. Let's take a look. When he was 14 years old, Jack Stilwell was sent to fetch water at the family's homestead north of Palmyra, Douglas County. Instead, he went to Kansas City and joined a wagon train bound for Santa Fe, traveling between New Mexico, Kansas City, and Leavenworth several times, spending the winters in New Mexico. His adventures taught him the countryside and the customs of the Plains tribes. He landed in the history books as a deputy U.S. Marshal, police judge, U.S. Commissioner in Oklahoma, and as an Army Scout. In 1868, Jack Stilwell joined Major George A. Forsyth's company, one of 50 U.S. Army Scouts from Fort Harker and Fort Hays. On the morning of September 10, Forsyth's troops at Fort Wallace received information that Cheyenne Indians had attacked a freighter's train about 8 miles east of Fort Wallace. The soldiers set out at dawn to find the hostiles. The detachment went into camp on the Arickaree Fork of the Republican River. At dawn, the scouts were attacked by a large party of Cheyennes under the leadership of Roman Nose. Surrounded, the men took cover and dug in on a sandbar in the dry riverbed. Casualties were heavy and their chances were grim. At around midnight on the first day of battle, Forsyth knew their only chance of survival was getting word to the forces stationed at Fort Wallace, 120 miles away. The 19-year-old Stilwell volunteered for the suicide mission and chose Pete Trudeau, an older scout, to go with him. The pair crawled for 3 miles to get past the enemy lines. According to Marshall Trimble in True West magazine, on the 4th day they found themselves on an open plain with no cover when they saw a Cheyenne war party approaching. Frantically searching for cover, they came upon the carcasses of 2 dead buffalo lying in some tall grass. The 2 scouts crawled inside the dead animals and waited anxiously. Suddenly, Jack heard a hissing sound. A big rattlesnake slithered out of the skeleton and coiled about a foot from his head. Young Stilwell just happened to have a chaw of tobacco in his mouth, and before the snake could strike, with all the aplomb of a veteran mule skinner, Jack spat a juicy wad that hit the snake right in the eyes. That rattler backed off and made a hasty retreat into the grass. The Cheyenne, unaware of what just happened, turned and rode off. They reached Fort Wallace, but Trudeau died from the ordeal days later. Stillwell, however, was part of the relief column that came to Forsyth's rescue in one of the most dramatic stories of the Plains. Stillwell died in Wyoming in 1903.
I'm Dr. Frank Lyons, a physician here at Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. As one of the only standalone stem cell centers in the U.S., we use your stem cells as therapy for arthritis and some autoimmune diseases.
I'm Dr. Andrew Poe, here at Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Utilizing the latest technology under strict protocols, we're able to harvest your stem cells from your own fat to treat a variety of medical conditions. The best part about it is, it's a same-day surgical procedure and requires no general anesthesia.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
When your living depends on agriculture, you can depend on KFRM 550 AM. If you're in the southwest three-fourths of Kansas or the northern half of Oklahoma, catch us at 550 AM on the radio dial. But if that isn't you, listen on your cell phone at TuneIn Radio or on your computer at KFRM.com. We promise to keep you informed, entertained, and company as you go through your day. KFRM 550 AM, the voice of the plains. We would like to join your management team.
Around Kansas, brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook, or visit us online at sftmeats.com. And we're back again. Good morning. This is Around Kansas. And, you know, Kansas is full of lots of interesting people and great athletes, one of them being Walter Johnson.
You know, what an amazing story. And, you know, I've always said baseball player. Of course, I grew up as a real baseball fan, more so than any other sport. I guess it was accessible. You know, kids were always playing baseball. You can just pick up a game of baseball anywhere. So that's the one I grew up as a bigger fan of than any other sport. So, yeah, Kansas has produced some pretty incredible baseball players.
Yeah, in fact, this one was one of the first to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, anyway, let's take a look. Few names loom larger in baseball lore than that of Ty Cobb. Universally acknowledged as one of the greatest players ever, he was a larger-than-life character with enough ego for the whole team. Few things daunted him, yet this was his account of a game his Detroit Tigers were playing against the Washington Nationals. On August 2nd, 1907, I encountered the most threatening sight I ever saw on the ball field. He was a rookie, and we licked our lips as we warmed up for the first game of a doubleheader in Washington. Evidently, manager Pongo Joe Cantillon of the Nats had picked a rube out of the cornfields of the deepest bushes to pitch against us. He was a tall, shambling galoot about 20, with arms so long they hung far out of his sleeves, and with a sidearm delivery that looked unimpressive at first glance. One of the Tigers imitated a cow mooing, and we hollered at Cantillon, "Hey, get the pitchfork ready, Joe. Your hayseed's on his way back to the barn." The first time I faced him, I watched him take that easy wind-up, and then something went past me that made me flinch. The thing just hissed with danger. We couldn't touch him. Every one of us knew we'd met the most powerful arm that ever turned loose in a ballpark. The hayseed with the powerful arm was Walter Johnson, a farm boy who was born near Humboldt, Kansas in 1887. He was 14 when the family moved to Orange County, California, where the oil boom was in full swing. He played high school baseball and was playing for a team in Idaho's State League when a talent scout spotted him and signed him to a major league contract. He was 19. His fastball was, and still is, legendary, clocked at more than 90 miles an hour. His unique sidearm delivery was difficult for batters to follow. He set dozens of records, many of which stood for decades, and a few remain unbroken. Johnson's record total of 3,508 strikeouts stood for more than 55 years until Nolan Ryan, Steve Carlton, and Gaylord Perry all surpassed it in 1983. Johnson, as of 2014, ranks 9th on the all-time strikeout list, but his total must be understood in its proper context. Among his pre-World War II contemporaries, his closest competitor was Cy Young, who was 700 strikeouts behind him. In the win column, Cy Young comes in first with 511, but Johnson is second with 417 wins. Johnson was one of the 5 immortals, the first players elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1936, along with Ty Cobb, Christy Mathewson, Babe Ruth, and Honus Wagner. Johnson's gentle nature was legendary, and to this day, he is held up as an example of good sportsmanship, while his name has become synonymous with friendly competition. Johnson died of a brain tumor at the age of 59 and is buried in Maryland. A baseball field in Humboldt, Kansas, and a park in Coffeyville are named in his honor. Another great story about people from Kansas, around Kansas.
of Kansas is a trademark program that helps Kansas businesses grow, produce, process, or manufacture Kansas products. Let's catch up with Flint Hills Aromatherapy, located in Atlanta, Kansas, close to the Oklahoma border. Inspired by the small seed of an idea, Flint Hills Aromatherapy believes in the power of aromatherapy to create a better life for you and your family. Specializing in marketing the finest pure essential oils available today, they use these same oils across their entire line of aromatherapy products. With many products to offer, Flint Hills Aromatherapy has 100% natural ear candling cones, 100% soy wax candles, exotic body butters, lotions, scrubs, and sprays, massage oils, mineral bath salts, pet products, and so much more. Visit their website at www.flinthillsaromatherapy.com for a complete list of their products.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Kansas is sometimes called Tornado Alley, along with Oklahoma and Texas. And those were the very same states where the great cattle drives happened in the post-Civil War era, when the legend of the cowboy came to life. Imagine being on the trail drives in those days without weather radio, weather radar, and all the modern communications we have. This is a serious poem that I wrote. It's titled Terror on the Trail. It was cloudy and dry that hot day in July as we drove cattle up the trail. We were needing rest in our dogged quest to drive them to the Kansas rail. But in the western skies where we turned our eyes, a cloud bank started to build. Then the clouds turned dark. We saw lightning spark as the black clouds grew and filled. The air was muggy. Hoss's eyes went buggy. The cattle were restless and flighty. As the clouds drew near, the boss made it clear, this storm is going to be mighty. Then the sky turned green like nothing we'd seen. The air was so still it was eerie. With nary a bicker, we pulled on our slickers, even though we were bone-tired and weary. Rain started to fallin', the cattle were bawlin', and the clouds started whirling around. We heard a distant roar, then the noise seemed to soar till it filled our ears with the sound. To our terrified stare from the devilish air, a black rope dropped from the skies. With a roar like a train, it plowed across the plain, tossing men, dirt, and cattle like flies. It's a cyclone, boys, the boss yelled through the noise. Now it's every man for himself. My loyal horse spooked despite my rebuke as I rode him off a side hill shelf. The cattle stampeded and ran unheeded as brave men rode for their lives. Critters ran pell-mell in the face of this hell in a desperate race to survive. Then the roar started fading, and the sound started trading some raindrops for the cyclone's roar. The rain came in torrents to the rider's abhorrence, like an ocean tide pounding the shore. Then we saw the rain stop, with a few stray raindrops. Of a sudden, the sky was clear blue, but the path of the storm and the death it performed came fully into our view. Dead cattle and a horse along the storm's course gave the killer storm mute testimony. 2 cowhinds were dead and 21 head of longhorns plus 1 cow pony. We grieved for our pards, and though it was hard, we buried them there on the plain. Then I mounted my steed and resumed the deed of gathering the herd that remained. Now we made Abilene, but the sights that I've seen will stay in my nightmares without fail. For I saw bodies fly that hellish day in July when a cyclone hit out on the trail. Happy trails.
I will take action against herbicide-resistant weeds. I will know my weeds, and I will stop them before they go to seed. I will do whatever it takes to give my crops the upper hand, and I will use multiple herbicide sites of action because every action counts. I will take action, this time for all time.
Healthy cows start with the new Hired Hand automatic livestock sprayer. Rancher invented to provide an efficient alternative to pour-on and injectable parasite management systems. The portable design allows cattle to treat themselves head to hoof. Strategic device placement with pass-through activation technology takes the stress out of parasite treatment for cattle and the rancher. Get the new Hired Hand for yourself or become a distributor. Visit cowsprayer.com. The new Hired Hand makes healthy cows easy.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Around Kansas, brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. Go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back, and as we were traveling the other day on Highway 36, you know, there's the sign that points to Wakanda, and of course Wakanda up in on that northern tier of Kansas was once a big tourist mecca, the health club, health spa and everything, and the spring up there has a legendary story. Have you visited that area,
No,
Frank?
in fact, this is going to be new and news to me, so I'm interested.
Good deal.
Okay.
A mysterious crater of water once drew visitors from near and far in what is now Jewell County in the north-central part of the state. This large saltwater spring was believed to have spiritual and healing powers. It was a mound about 300 feet wide and rising 40 feet above the surrounding Solomon River Valley. Legend claims that Wakanda was the daughter of an American Indian chief. One day, while walking near the spring, she met and fell in love with a warrior from a rival tribe. Eventually, war broke out between the tribes, and an arrow from Wakanda's fathers struck her lover. Mortally wounded, the warrior fell into the springs, and Wakanda dove in after him, never to resurface. Her spirit is still believed to dwell in the spring. Wakanda means spirit to many Plains Indians. The Pawnee worked to live in harmony with the universe and looked to animals to provide spiritual guidance to reach this goal. The Pawnee traveled to the springs to make offerings and to gain wisdom and treat disease. After the establishment of Mitchell County in 1870, the Cocker City Mineral Company purchased the springs with the intention of harvesting salt. When their endeavor failed, a bottling company bought the spring. In 1907, Dr. G.F. Abraham of Mankato converted the pleasure resort to a health spa where patients were bathed in pure Wakanda water and drank the water each morning as a mild and gentle laxative, but a sure laxative. Perhaps to create publicity and boost sales of bottled water, a deep-sea diver was hired in 1908 to validate the well's depth. According to legend, the bottomless well was connected to the ocean and fell with the tide. The diver claimed to find no bottom and instead uncovered trinkets that were interpreted as past spiritual offerings. 40 years later, a team of geologists from the University of Kansas used sonar and found the well to be nearly 115 feet in depth. Abraham and his descendants operated the spa until 1964, when federal flood control measures required the construction of a reservoir at Wakanda Springs. Despite efforts to preserve the site as a national monument, the structures were bulldozed and the well was sealed in 1968. The spring was covered by water after a dam was built in on the Solomon River, and today it is Wakanda Lake at Glen Elder State Park. Okay. I'm Deb.
I'm Frank.
And we'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers.
Hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. We're the best part of Dorothy Street.